Tallahassee. I'm student meteorologist Sydney Welch.
And I'm student meteorologist Tevin Wooten. On a Wednesday, hump day, as Sydney just pointed out. We are halfway there.
Yeah, and did you know that today is the 333rd day of the year?
So could you call that the triple trifecta?
Oh yeah, that's what I'm calling it. I've been calling it that all day, so.
And you have some other cool facts about December for us too, right?
Yeah, we have actually an array of facts. So
an array of facts later in the show.
First fact, yeah.
Or no.
Sorry, I'll give you a little teaser.
Okay.
Because first fact is, I was born in December.
What?
So as December approaches, we do have some fun facts for you guys coming in our next desk.
Of course, it's like the best month for you, right?
Yeah, oh, my favorite month. Christmas and my birthday, like it doesn't get much better.
A triple trifecta and a double whammy in the same month. Well, we've got a trifecta of a lot of student meteorologists here for you today. A lot of jam-packed weather to talk about. Some good and warm, some not so good and warm, potentially later on next week.
Yeah, later on next week we could be seeing trends completely flipping around. So stay tuned in order to find out more about that.
But in the meantime, let's send things over to student meteorologist Michael Anand. He's got more in your overview.
Thanks, Sydney and Tevin. So let's look at our roof cam outside of the roof of the Love Building. And this is looking towards the east. The sun set at around 5:40 earlier tonight, and you can see a lot of very clear out there. And out towards the west, it's a beautiful sunset in Doak Campbell Stadium. And now our weather headlines is we're going to continue with these above average temperatures for the next few days. But by the end of next week, we were saying that there could be some below average temperatures and a really significant pattern change at that. For today, we were at 80 degrees. We actually cracked 80 degrees today, and it was actually really close to a record of 83 set back in 1931. Our low was also above our average of 44. We are at 53 this morning, and you might have noticed some fog this morning. I know up in Atlanta, they had some really major fog problems this morning. Now, currently across the tri-state region, you can see 72 here in Tallahassee and 64 up in Macon and 67 in Albany. Very pleasant conditions we've been experiencing for these last few days. Satellite and radar is clear as high pressure is situated up in northern Georgia, dominating our local weather. And for tonight, expect a low of 55 and also expect some fog to develop again. And for tomorrow, pretty similar conditions. Now let's send it back to the desk.
Thanks, Michael. Now, we do, as we teased before, we do have some fun facts for you guys.
And so the first fact that we all learned was Sydney's birthday is in the month of December, so
it's
the most important fact, right?
Yeah, that is the most important fact. But another fun fact is my birthstone is turquoise, so if you want to get me any presents.
And everyone else in December as well, if you have a December birthday.
Yeah, December birthdays, it is all turquoise, which is a beautiful stone. I'm actually wearing it in my necklace right now.
Well, happy birthday on whatever day your birthday. When is it?
The 21st.
The 21st. So. She'll be 22 on the 21st.
Yes.
That's cool. Other cool facts about December is Poinsettia Day. Not a lot of people think about Poinsettia Day. It's actually celebrated on December the 12th. That is a plant that is very common around Christmas time. December 25th is Christmas for those that celebrate. But Poinsettia Day, a day to celebrate the poinsettias, December the 12th. And then also in December 20th, going back to 1803, the Louisiana Purchase was completed.
Wow, could you imagine that? We doubled our country in size on December 20th in 1803. So crazy to learn about all these facts. Also, if you don't celebrate Christmas and you are a Kwanzaa celebrator, that happens every year between December 26th and January 1st. So that must be a joyful 5 days for everyone, or 6 days if there's the 31st of December. 6 days, sorry about that.
We're just got a week-long celebration, whether it's 6 or 7 days. But, okay, this is a really cool one. The Wright brothers made their first flight December the 17th in 1903. So, what is that? About 104 years ago. The math is right. 2017. 1903, the Wright brothers completed their first flight. Thankfully, they did. That led way to a lot of air exploration.
Yeah,
that we all get to enjoy, i.e. Delta, American, and other airlines too.
Yeah, many airlines. But I am actually going to be taking a peek, zooming back into the local look. We won't need an airplane to get to this local forecast. So currently in Tallahassee, we are seeing temperatures at 72 degrees, and with that 72-degree temperature, we saw clouds breaking through, or we saw the sun breaking through those clouds almost all day today. Just some patchy clouds making their way overhead in the middle hours. But as we go into our night, it is going to be partly cloudy. I just looked outside a few minutes ago and there wasn't a cloud in the sky, so those clouds will be popping up as we go into our overnight hours. Now, dew point at 59, so that is a nice comfortable dew point. Current temperatures around the region, things are cooling off nicely as we go into our afternoon or into our evening hours. 70 degrees in St. Mark's, 72 in Tallahassee, and it's crazy that I'm saying things are cooling off nicely and the temperature is 72 degrees, but our high we did see was 80 degrees today, well above our average, and Quincy has cooled off to a nice comfortable 68 degrees into tonight. Now, as we go into our later night hours, that temperature is going to decrease and become closer to these dew points. And what that means is there could be potential fog into the morning. So give yourself some extra time on those roads. And don't forget to use your low beam headlights if you're making your way to work in the morning. Because look at this, Tallahassee at 59, our low temperature could very easily meet 59 into the night. Monticello dew point at 63, along with Quincy at 59. So all of these dew points are rising ever so slightly than what they were seeing yesterday, and we did see fog this morning as well. So look at this. We are seeing between the comfortable range and the moderate range. So they have been increasing from that dry that we were seeing. Now, taking a look around the United States, we are going to notice there is a weak front weakening as it's making its way from west to east. And then look at this nice line of clouds that's going from the Four Corners, Albuquerque, New Mexico and Nevada, making its way up to Minneapolis, and that is making its way from west to east as well. We will be seeing this in our local forecast as we go into later this week. So rain from this system will make its way in our direction later this week. Into our local satellite and radar, beautiful, not a cloud in the sky right now. Into our later hours of the night, some clouds could form, so that is why we're seeing those partly cloudy forecasts in the forecast. Now take a look at these winds going clockwise and very light, so there is a high pressure sitting above in North Georgia, and that high pressure is swinging these winds clockwise at a very low pace. Now, if you're going on a boat tomorrow, conditions are going to be slightly choppy into tonight. Patchy to dense fog, 55 degrees, and tomorrow's outlook, 78 with a foggy morning tomorrow. Now take a look at this 5-day. We are going to be seeing similar conditions except a bump up of % of rain on Saturday. Now Tevin, how do you feel about that 5-day?
I like the 5-day. You mentioned some nice weather, maybe a few spotty showers on Saturday, but as far as the southeast goes, it looks like we're going to be keeping that warm and mild and maybe even some sunny sky trend all throughout the rest of the weekend for the southeast. Let's start you though with a current look at the southeast, where most of the conditions are partly cloudy or becoming partly cloudy. Orlando seeing some mostly clear skies tonight, but Tallahassee a few clouds popping up in our weather right now, but we're not expecting the rainfall to really move in until possibly the weekend or some parts of later next week. Current conditions across the southeast, do you see anything familiar? Well, we have this zonal pattern here where most of the weather is oriented from west to east, and the warmer temperatures are confined to these southern portions of the map here. So 72 for Tallahassee, 74 for New Orleans, 70 for Jackson, 65 for Huntsville, Alabama, and 60 in Atlanta. The current winds, as Sydney just mentioned, most of them going in a clockwise fashion. That's due to some high pressure that's in the area. Orlando, you had your winds at about 9 miles an hour. New Orleans had winds at 12. Here's the next frontal boundary that it is starting to approach. It does have some light rain associated with it, but then behind it we do have a beefier front that is still not all that promising for us as far as rainfall totals go. And here's a look at the current dew points. 59 in Tallahassee right now, 64 for Orlando, 58 for you in Savannah, Georgia, and 57 for Atlanta. So everything feels a little bit comfortable, maybe a little bit more muggy down towards the southern portions of the Florida Panhandle, or Peninsula rather. 70 for Miami, 73 for Key West. But look here, Tupelo, Mississippi, not feeling terrible out there at all right now. We do have some drier air in the upper atmospheres and aloft. So Tallahassee, any area that's going to be in this orange is going to be mostly dry conditions. And then in between, we start to have that mix. And that's where we see some rainfall appearing in central Arkansas and then behind it in Texas into the Oklahoma panhandle. That's going to be the trend as we go throughout the next few days or so, but not by much here in the southeast. And that you can see that here for the rainfall totals go. Goose eggs for mostly everyone through Thursday, but then Miami and Key West starting to get a little bit more rainfall down south. But as we take away the time here, the overall trend is a lot of people will remain at those goose eggs. Huntsville, Alabama getting about 1/10 of an inch, and Montgomery just barely a blip on the rainfall totals there go. So that's a look at what we could possibly see, but overall, not promising if you're looking for rainfall, so that drought monitor will not be updated by much over the next week. Tonight's forecast, cool and mild, 55 for Tallahassee, 53 for Savannah, Georgia, and Montgomery, 55 for Atlanta, 51 for Tupelo. Tomorrow, let's take today's forecast and do the same thing tomorrow. 72 for Atlanta, Georgia, 76, maybe a few spotty showers for Montgomery, 79 for Tallahassee. We are warming things up in the southern portions of Florida. 82 for Miami and 81 for Orlando. Let's send things back to the desk with student meteorologists Michael and Sydney.
Thanks, Tevin. Oh.
Oh, yeah, there we go. So,
sorry, Michael.
Yeah. So we were talking earlier about the colder change coming next week. A really drastic change of that, right, Sydney?
Yeah. So today we saw very above average temperatures. So we saw an 80-degree day for our high today, and our average is around 70. So next week.
Yeah, the above average conditions are going to continue into early next week, but then by Wednesday into Thursday of next week, I've been seeing highs of 50s mainly.
Yeah, coldest burst of air we've seen yet this season, so.
Yeah, so from well above average to well below average. The NOAA Prediction Center, they issued their 8 to 14-day outlooks, and they compared it with the one from this week. You could see orange represents warmer than average, and blue represents colder than average. Just looking at that, it's like really, it's going to be a shock to the system for several people in the eastern two-thirds of the
especially
nation. Up
here in North Florida, we are going to see that drastic change from the orange above average to blue. So we don't know exactly how long this cold burst of air is going to last, but they're predicting between 7 to 10 days. And so that we could have very cold conditions, below average conditions, for a pretty long time.
Yeah, and as always with these things, it will definitely change. The intensity of this cold blast could be different by this time next week. So us here at FSU Weather, we're going to keep you updated on what's going to happen with this next cold blast of air.
Yeah, so the reason for this is because the jet stream is actually going to be shifting, right, Michael?
Yeah, and as I'll point out in my national, we have a zonal flow right now. And I'll explain that right now in the national forecast. So let me send it out to the wall. And there's our roof cam again, and you can see very nice conditions across all of Tallahassee today. And you can see this, I would call them skyscrapers in downtown Tallahassee, very bright sky. And currently, we are having colder conditions up to the north, 43 in Minneapolis and 50 in Kansas City. The warmer conditions are down towards the southern tier of the nation with 73 in San Antonio and 74 in New Orleans. Now, I was telling you earlier we had this zonal flow currently. What does a zonal flow mean? That means the jet stream is basically flat, moving from west to east. There's not really big dips in the jet stream or big ridges, but that is going to change again by later next week. The 24-hour temperature change. Now, the reason why it is much colder across the central part of the country, we actually have a cold front situated in the Tennessee Valley, right along Tennessee into West Virginia, and that's why it is much colder across the central part of the country compared to this time yesterday. The water vapor, I was telling you about that cold front. Can you really spot it? I can't really spot it according to water vapor, but it is situated right here. It is the moisture associated with that cold front has really died out these last few days. There's another cold front right here that is going to give us a chance of rain early next week. But this front in the Pacific Northwest, that is going to give us the very drastic cold air by the end of next week. The National Weather Picture shows you a very similar story with the the first cold front beginning to die out, the second cold front in the northern plains, and the third cold front in the Pacific Northwest. Watches and warnings, a lot of coastal advisories for the Pacific side and the Atlantic side of the nation, but up in the northern plains, we do have some high wind warnings, again, due to those high winds and dry conditions. Airport delays are 0 across the board for the major airports, and for tonight, the coldest conditions are going to be in the Intermountain West with 25 in Denver and 29 in Salt Lake City. Down towards the southeast, you're going to see the warmest conditions in the nation with 60s along the Gulf Coast and middle 50s in the interior southeast in Atlanta and Memphis. Now for tomorrow, you can see the zonal flow again. Very cooler conditions up north and warmer conditions down south. You can see 51 here in Salt Lake City, 72 in my hometown of Atlanta, and 80s down towards the Gulf Coast and in Florida. So now let's send it back to the desk with Sydney and Tevin.
Okay, thanks, Michael. You just explained that we could see some really cold temperatures next week here in Florida, but also if it's cold here, then that's going to mean it's really cold for portions northern of us, so throughout the Great Lakes region and that entire upper Midwest area. And what comes along with cold weather
is snow and freezing rain.
And potentially blizzards. So yesterday we talked about blizzard conditions when winds are at least 35 miles an hour, but visibility also has to be down to about a quarter of a mile or less. So that's a blizzard condition. So a blizzard warning would come along with a blizzard condition.
Yeah, so if there were potential blizzard conditions in your area, you definitely would want to stock up on items in your household in case you get stuck in the house. I mean, here in Tallahassee, it is very rare, but if you are in the Northeast or places that are more north of here, it isn't as rare as it would be here.
And speaking of north, one area that might be familiar with this term, lake effect snow, New York, for example.
Yes, New York would be familiar with lake effect snow. So what a lake effect snow warning is it's very heavy. Lake effect snow amounts generally 6 inches in 12 hours or less. So if it comes that quickly, or 8 inches in 24 hours or less.
So pretty much a lot of snow
in a small amount of time.
That's right.
And that really is how lake effect snow works. It usually comes very quickly and it sits there for a long time.
So for those maybe not exactly going to see a lake effect snow, for example, in Arkansas, we can sometimes see a winter weather advisory. And what that criteria comes down to is when you see hazardous winter weather conditions that are occurring, imminent, or likely. So for example, sometimes here in Florida, we might get freezing rain, potentially some snow. I don't like to use that word a lot because it sends everyone into a frenzy.
Yeah, that is definitely more common than the blizzard warnings. This is definitely more in the Tallahassee realm of warnings for us.
For winter weather.
Yeah, for winter weather, of course.
It's
yes.
almost like the hurricane advisory. You know, Floridians hear that and they're like, okay, just another day in Florida.
Someone from the Northeast hears that and they say,
That's
what
right.
do we do? How do we prepare? Yeah, exactly.
But and that's what it comes down to. It's just being prepared for whether it's a winter weather advisory, an ice storm warning, a blizzard warning, or a lake effect snow warning. It just comes down to knowing the forecast, having a backup plan, being prepared, plenty of food, batteries especially. Yeah,
batteries are a big thing, and being prepared and not necessarily being scared, because if you're scared of it, then the worst outcome could potentially come. But if you're really prepared and you're just ready for it, then that is the type of thing that we are trying with.
Unfortunately, though, we will not be seeing, I like snow. We won't be seeing any snow here, but we will be seeing some cooler temperatures potentially next week?
Yeah, potentially in the next 7 to 10 days. So those cool temperatures could come and we will see how that all turns out. But as for right now, we are going to be talking about the peninsula of Florida, which does not have, and they don't really have cold weather in their near future. So I am going to take us out to take a look around Florida. Now look at this up. Miami has really been seeing the rain in the past 48 hours. It has been coming down. They have 0.4 of an inch in that area. And Orlando seeing some as well with 0.28 of an inch, so a little above a quarter of an inch for that area. Now let's take a look at these current conditions around the region, or around the entire peninsula. West Palm Beach is seeing some rain, 76-degree temperatures, and more south, 79 degrees with some clouds in Miami, and they are the people that were seeing the rain before from that stalled out front, but now West Palm does seem to be getting some sea breeze showers into the evening hours of their night. Now Tallahassee sitting at 72 degrees, and switching it over to the dew points, 68-degree dew points in West Palm and 70 in Miami. So really, as you make your way down the peninsula, it just gets more and more humid. And finally, Miami, the highest dew point, actually down there, Key West has the highest dew point at 73 degrees. So those are summer-like dew points for us in Tallahassee, but we thankfully are seeing the more moderate 59 degrees. Now, current winds, the entire peninsula is seeing the winds coming from the northeast and moving towards the southwest. So the highest we are seeing, look at West Palm, 18-mile-an-hour winds. So their winds really are ramping up down there. The rest of the peninsula seeing under 10 miles an hour. Tallahassee with the very calm winds at 3 miles an hour. And Jacksonville, 8 miles an hour over there for their area. Now this really does paint a beautiful picture looking at the water vapor. The orange is the more dry air, and it is really pushing that moisture right out of the way. So the green air is the moisture, and watch it as it just sweeps it all by. So everyone into the night will be seeing the more dry conditions, and their dew points should be lowering as they go into the night. Satellite paints the same type of picture, except it does show some sea breeze showers between Miami and West Palm and slightly above West Palm as well. Into the future, the peninsula won't be seeing much rain. Look at that, very clear actually as we go into Thursday. Some pop-up showers just north of West Palm and between West Palm and Miami. Into tonight, moderate conditions down the peninsula, 60s and 55 towards the northern part, Pensacola over there at 61 degrees. Into Thursday, beautiful day Thursday. The entire region seeing high temperatures, but those warm temperatures really won't feel too oppressive to us because the entire peninsula will be enjoying that sunshine. Now we are going to be going back to Michael and Tevin over there at the desk.
All right, thanks, Sydney. You said South Florida enjoying some sunshine. Well, on this day in 1987, places in the Pacific Northeast and the Great Lakes were also blanketed and enjoying some snow. The upper Mississippi Valley in 1987 recorded a heavy snow near Lake Superior, up to 10 inches of snow reported in Douglas County and Bayfield, Wisconsin. Those areas received about 9 to 10 inches of snow, some obviously a little bit more if they were near a radar or away from a radar site. Sometimes it doesn't get recorded. But heavy rain also soaked the mid-Atlantic that day with gale force winds lashing along the coastline. So that sounds terrible.
I know. A lot of the northern tier of the country, winter can be a rough time for them.
Yeah.
But actually, you know, we experienced fog this morning, as we were saying.
Yeah.
And you know, in 1969 on this date, back in my birthplace in New Jersey, they actually got some dense fog on the Jersey Turnpike. And you know, when you get this dense fog, it can cause a lot of major collisions. They actually had a chain reaction of vehicle collisions involving a propane tank and a trailer truck. So, you know, that causes a huge fire on the turnpike. So that's what happened in 1969.
Always got to commute with caution anytime you get that fog advisory or rain even.
The low beam headlights, as Sydney was saying. And so that's some of the weather history from on this date in
87,
in the U.S.
88 in the U.S.
And 1969.
Right. So let's see, Michael, if we're going to have some fog tonight, we'll get to the local forecast here right now to wrap the show up. I don't think we'll see any fog right now, of course, because it's just too warm. Temperatures and dew points not exactly lining up right now. We've got conditions right now at 72 degrees and partly cloudy conditions, so we are starting to see somewhat of some condensation occurring, just not at the surface yet. And of course, that's what fog is, with dew points at about 59 degrees. If we get those two, the actual air temperature and the dew point temperature together, then we could potentially see some fog. Of course, we also need calm winds, which we have right now, only from the northeast at about 3 miles an hour. Today's high temperature, 81 degrees in Quincy, 80 in Tallahassee, 81 also for Perry, 77 for Valdosta. So any fog that we did have burned off a little bit later on in the morning. Dew points right now across the Big Bend area: 63 for Monticello, 60 for Perry, 64 for Carabel, and 65 for Apalachicola. Mariana at about 58-degree dew points, and so they're going to be the even drier spot right now. Valdosta also dry at 57 degrees. And so I just mentioned that we could see some fog because we get that temperature and dew point together, but we will also see muggy conditions when you're in the 70-degree region. When you're in the 60, it's that moderate or sort of uncomfortable, but then by the 50 and even 40, you're comfortable to pleasant. So hopefully we can keep those dew points down just a little bit longer after that frontal boundary pass. However, as we get closer into the weekend, we're going to start to see a better chance for our moisture content to increase, which will then, of course, increase the dew points. Current winds right now, just a smorgasbord of winds coming really from everywhere, but the big picture here is they are calm, and they will continue to remain calm throughout the night. Here's a look at satellite and radar. Dry sky for most of Tallahassee, Leon County, and the Big Bend area. However, from the west, notice we do have just a few light clouds and some rain also near probably Panama City Beach in that area. So we'll expect to see clouds become more and more, and potentially some rainfall become more and more as we get into later parts of the weekend into the weekend. And you'll notice also this high pressure here will start to drift north and east. Winds will continue coming out of the east on Thursday and into Friday as well, but then they'll start to change direction Thursday afternoon, start to come from the southeast. Will warm up even more, but then, oh look, that wind shift showing you there is our next frontal boundary right there Friday morning. Winds behind the front will come from the north and west, ushering in somewhat more cooler and drier air, which I think we all enjoy this time of year. So as we go to our next graphic, we'll show you that planning your night tonight, calm winds, 68 degrees at 7 p.m., 63 by 10 o'clock tonight, and around midnight we're at 60, and humidity does start to increase. Tonight's forecast across the entire area in the lower to mid 50s, maybe some spots in the 60-degree region. By Thursday, mostly sunny conditions and mild temperatures, 77 in Monticello, 78 tomorrow for Tallahassee, and 77 for St. Mark's. Here's a look at the week ahead. Sydney and Michael, what do you think about that? Look at those temperatures, 75 on Friday and fantastic, partly cloudy conditions. By the weekend, though, just a few chances for an isolated shower or two.
Yeah, look at that. There's only a few chances of rain in that 7 days. So.
But in terms of temperatures, there's like a huge change. We're going to go from above average these next few days to at average by the beginning of next week. And then we were hinting at the end of next week below average.
Yeah, so and that rain isn't always a bad thing. It is a good thing to get rain because we need it for agriculture, and people around the region really do need the rain sometimes.
And I always go out to the golf course, and I've noticed these last few weeks, golf course has gotten a little bit drier each and every week.
Yeah, and every week that it doesn't rain, the rain is really necessary to keep that grass alive.
Yep, keep it green and keep it growing well.
Yeah, no, definitely. It really is true. Yep. A lot of people associate rain as a bad thing. That's the point, and it's not always a bad thing. So let's take a look at this 7-day one more time. Sunday and Monday, look at those. That sun is going to be peeking out behind the clouds for most of the day, and then those rain chances are going to be ramping up ever so slightly on Tuesday and Wednesday to 20 and 30%. And oh, look at this. Follow us on Twitter if you don't already. Twitter.com/FSU weather.
Yeah, don't forget about the like on Facebook. Facebook.com/FSU weather.
And if you're not watching us on YouTube right now, you can come watch us on YouTube. And don't forget about the Instagram.
Yep.
Follow us
Show
on
us
Instagram.
any pictures you have around Tallahassee, even across the nation. That would be awesome for us here at FSU Weather. So for all of us here at FSU Weather, I am student meteorologist Michael Anand.
And I'm student meteorologist Sydney Welch. Have an awesome night.